Hey everyone, this is the Spoon Dude back with another action figure review. This time we'll be taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series Clone Wars Anakin Skywalker figure. This figure is part of the 50th anniversary line of figures that are all sold in this more old school Star Wars The Clone Wars toy line style packaging, which is really cool. I remember getting the old 3 3/4 figures back in the day. Here's a package. I think I'm actually gonna display this in the box, though I still like playing with the figure, so obviously I took them out, but tried to get it in a way where I could put them back in the box if I so chose. As for the figure itself, I really quite like it. Let's just get the comparisons out of the way quickly. Here he is with the archive version of the Revenge of the Sith Anakin. This is the only other prequel Anakin that I have. All the other Anakins are technically Darth Vader figures, but just getting them to stand. The main comparison here really is in the head sculpts, and I really think the archive sculpt is still the better. It's still the better Anakin. I think the likeness is a lot closer there. Not perfect, but I do think it looks like him. Whereas the new Clone Wars one doesn't quite look like Hayden Christensen. Now, I've seen the arguments made that they weren't trying to make it look like Hayden Christensen, but if it's not Hayden Christensen, then I don't know who it is, because that's the only likeness that Anakin really should have in live action, since he's the only, face he's ever had, in real life. But yeah, there's that comparison there. Minus the likeness, though, I do feel like this new figure is a lot better in terms of articulation, and the sculpts are hard to compare since they are completely different looks. This is meant to be a live action version of Anakin. It's based off the Clone Wars animated series from 2008, but the figure is sort of meant to be a more realistic interpretation of that. If you've been collecting Star Wars Black Series figures, you know that's the way they treat all their animated based figures. So Rebels, the Bad Batch, their Clone Wars stuff, it's all interpreted through this more realistic lens so that it better fits the movie figures so that they can all be one line altogether. So I really quite like that approach to making these figures. And it makes this figure really quite interesting because it is that cartoon look, but the proportions and the detail is a lot more realistic. So you can see his build right there is more like a real guy rather than the kind of stylized, really skinny character model from the show. And again, the head sculpt is meant to be more realistic, but it just doesn't quite look like Hayden Christensen. Ignoring the likeness, though, it is still a really nice head sculpt. You get the photoreal. The scar is nicely sculpted and painted. You get the eyes there and some kind of shading around them. So, it does look good. It just doesn't look like the actor. Then for the hair, there is actually some paint detail in it, so that's kind of cool. Looks like maybe a wash or a dry brush. I want to say it's a wash. So that looks good, and I like that they sculpted the hair to be similar to Revenge of the Sith, but not quite as long. He doesn't quite have the full mullet yet, which matches the Clone Wars since it's between episode 2 and 3. So going over the rest of the body, there's a lot of nice details, and there's a lot of mix of parts. You have the harder plastic and like the arms and stuff, but then this whole tunic piece is this softer, rubberier plastic. And that works pretty well. It doesn't really get in the way of articulation, which is surprising. And then you get the soft goods kind of skirt, lower tunic piece there. And I think that matches the plastic red pretty okay. I mean, you can see right now it doesn't quite shine as much as the plastic under the bright lights, but when you get them away from, a lamp and just hold them in regular lighting, these pieces blend together pretty nicely. So like I said, this is all a softer plastic up until the shoulder plate, I guess. And I've always been fond of the Clone Wars design. I really like the idea of the Jedi wearing their robes with armor. I think it makes the Jedi Knights seem more like, knights, more like warriors. And it's also sort of a nice foreshadowing of the Darth Vader armor, since you can see they have similar chest plates, which I always thought was cool. There's a lot of details here, a lot of nice sculpted textures. The paints are pretty clean for what we get. The details on the belt seem pretty good. There's not a lot painted there though. Then on the glove it looks pretty good. And then on this side it's just, you know, just the black. You get the Jedi symbol there, which looks really good. It's all really good, lots of texture. I will say though, it seems his lower half underneath all the goods, this all seems the same from the Revenge of the Sith Anakin. So if you already have the archive or the original release of the Anakin, or even the episode 2 one, these legs should be very familiar to you. Alright, quickly, let's look at the lightsaber. It's his only accessory. He doesn't come with anything else, which is a bummer, but that's kind of typical Black Series affair. Would have been nice to get a, you know, maybe interchangeable hands, a different head, or maybe even like the baby Hutt from the original movie. But anyways, here's the lightsaber. You know, we've gotten a bunch of these Skywalker lightsabers over the years. This one seems new. The peg is new to me. It's a lot longer than I'm used to. And there's also this, like, cut at the base of the saber to match the, you know, that upper part of the hilt. So that seems pretty good. I do like the color blue. Just quickly, I guess we can compare it to the archive lightsaber, which has a darker blue and a flimsier peg. So definitely prefer this newer one. This one had a really rubbery hilt and they didn't even paint the silver, so there you go. Well, let's look at the articulation. He has pretty much standard Black Series articulation, or at least what's now considered standard, I guess. You get the double ball peg at the top of the neck, single at the bottom. You get a lot of nice range of motion, mostly from the bottom joint, surprisingly. You know, you can make them look up and down, and a lot of tilting. You have a butterfly joint right there. It's not the most useful, but it does help. I mean, you know, it's not nothing. And then the shoulders are on a hinge and swivel. And the shoulder pads, as you can see, are on a separate ring that goes around the arm joint. So it can move with the arm if you want it to. It really helps for posing so it's not stuck to the shoulders like on some other figures. And additionally, it's on this sort of rubbery piece, so it flexes out of the way when you move the arm up. So I really like that. They've used that design on other figures. I think the one I have is a Stormtrooper that does that. And it's a good design. The only flaw is, as you can see, when you move the arms back down, it takes some time for that shoulder pad to sort of sink back down. If it were on a hinge instead of just that rubbery flap, then it wouldn't have that problem, but I can see why they do it this way. You get the single hinge at the elbow, which swivels. It's pretty good. It's better than the Revenge of the Sith one, like I keep comparing. You know, this one has the bigger robes, and you know, it bends okay, but you really have to force it, especially on this side. This one really just like I have to really force it to get it where I want, whereas this one bends nicely on both sides. So I do like that. Then here comes my problem with the articulation. The wrists have the hinge going up and down like a dribbling motion. They swivel, they hinge up and down. And for a lightsaber wielding character, you really want the hinge to go the other direction, more sort of a waving kind of motion side to side, so that he can point the lightsaber wherever you want. I mean, the way the hands are now, it is sculpted to hold the lightsaber at an angle, but you can't adjust that angle, you know, because the hinge is pretty useless going up and down like that. So it really should go the other way. You get a ball peg in the torso, which works pretty okay. So that's fine. Then the hips are the same as this Revenge of the Sith one. So I do kick forward, and all this lower stuff doesn't really get in the way, so I appreciate that. Kind of back, and it doesn't really go out much. That's your limit right there. You get a thigh swivel, the really ugly but effective double jointed knees. That's really weird, flat looking, but I mean it does bend. And then the ankles are on a hinge and pivot. You can get him to a lot of good poses, and especially, you know, with the head articulation, the shoulders and the elbows, he's a lot easier to pose than the Revenge of the Sith version. I have Obi-Wan on the way. I don't have him yet the time I'm recording this video, but I'm very excited to get those two together. For now, I can compare him to my Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan, which has the Clone Commander head. I actually did a video showing that head swap. So yeah, there's the Obi-Wan right there, and I'm very excited to get the proper Clone Wars version of Obi-Wan, and I'm hoping that figure is as posable as this one, because this old body really sucks when it comes to posing. There's the Anakin figure, really happy with it. If you're a Star Wars fan, definitely pick it up. If you're a Clone Wars fan especially, I actually just got him from Target.com for retail price, and since I ordered him and Obi-Wan, I actually got free shipping. So if you can't find him at your local Targets, just check online. Should be no problem. And yeah, I really like this figure. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.